So we're just going to head into the Minerva and see the fully realised set of Home, which was designed by Sophie. And so yeah, come and have a look.
It's definitely the most realistic set that Josh and I have ever made, so that's a new thing for us. So it's been really fun to do this amount of detail. This was made by the props department, but there was also a really sweet workshop. So some people in the community who come and do workshops have made a few for us as well. And so these are made with a little cocktail stick, and then originally blue tack with some tiny little pins, and then what I imagine is goose down feather. And then because we learnt we have an actor without shoes on, we were like, oh, still pins makes us a bit nervous, let's just check that. The blue tack is very squishy, so we've made it with milliput, so that milliput is something that starts soft. There's a chemical reaction that happens with two parts that after time it then sets, so they're really, really solid. So the smaller ones are made individually by hand, and the larger ones are shop bought and edited. So as mentioned, we have an actor that doesn't have shoes on, so that obviously needs to be taken pretty seriously. So the entire thing is really, really soft, which from far away doesn't really translate. So it's not like people look like they're on a crazy, crazy bouncy castle. I mean, this close you can see. But when you're meters and meters away, it's not really something that catches people's attention.
And the reason we did that as well was so that the floor was soundless. Silence plays a big, big role in the play. And the basic principle of the sound design is that you layer in bird song and you layer in the sound of wind so that you can then take them away, and the silence feels more silent than a normal silence would be. So we thought it was very important that we keep the path silent so that in those moments we weren't hearing crunch, crunch, crunch when we wanted things to be really, really quiet. You look at this from the outside and you think this is a very beautiful, bucolic kind of space. And then so just in here, there's like broken down cans and fag butts and things like that. So that, because this area is commented on in the play, but they're also kind of little Easter eggs because the audience is so close. You can kind of play with the people at the back are never going to see it, but you get a little reward if you're quite close. You know, you might not see the set in such scope as the seats at the back, but you get a reward for being closer. So trying to kind of play with perspective and scale in that way was really interesting.
But it's worth mentioning the chairs. Caused a few. We did many a test with the chair, because in this show they're not just sat on. We have an actor that needs to lift them above his head. And I had a really particular design that I wanted them to look like cast iron Victorian furniture, which I knew would be innately very heavy. And the amazing props department found aluminium ones. So they are probably less than 3 kilograms. So the actors can do lots of different stuff with that.
The very last thing to talk about definitely is the coral at the back here. So we decided early on that we were going to open up this upstage area to give ourselves the most amount of space at the back. There's a division within the play between the table and the foreground and what's going on upstage. And a lot of the time, things that happen downstage are happening with the backdrop of action that's happening upstage. And so these corals, the one, that's what we're calling them. They're not you're not meant to look at them and go, oh, that's definitely a sea coral. But they're meant to be ambiguous. But the shape was inspired by looking at corals. As you can see, this one is much, much more complex. Only when you get up very, very close can you see that there are actually minute little strings in here, there you go, yeah, that are holding the tension between the top leaf and the bottom leaf of the coral, because this is actually hung on a cloth. But when you take a step away, it looks like one solid pane. This one is made in a totally different way, with actual sort of piped bits of plastic and metal, because it needs to be held on this angle, and you can see there are a few pickups that attach it to the roof, which, fade away in the lighting design and you can't see. That's the set for Home. Hope you've enjoyed having a little look around and seen some of the details.